Wow.
Unsatisfying. Yep.
I know. I thought it was going to end like longer.
Is that Run Run Rudolph?
I think we got the
The
gist.
Christmas song?
There we go. That was nice. That was nice.
Yeah, that would have been way better than what you did.
Way better. Welcome back to What the Podcast. I'm Ryan.
I'm John.
And together we are
Ryan and John.
On the couch, as always, producer Cara Tafolla, the lovely Annie the Skovmand, and back for some reason, producer Olivia
back.
Tafolla.
Wow.
Do you want a different name for
Title?
the show? Yeah.
Yeah, creator.
Back in the day.
Whoa.
Creator
okay.
Olivia
Aggressive.
You asked.
Show.
You did ask.
You
I
can
have
already
just-
ask me.
Hold on, I have one question for you. Have you been listening to the show since you left?
Not a
one.
single
Not a
episode.
single
You
one,
wanna know how
right?
I know?
Why?
Because you were like smiling at our intro, like you hadn't heard it since you left. Literally, like you were hearing it for the first time. That was your face.
What are you talking about? I
You're
listen
like,
every
pretty
night.
rough stuff.
Before I go to bed, I listen to an episode.
Yeah.
Just give the listeners at home, the viewers also at home, just a quick update. What have you been up to?
Where do I begin? Gosh.
I immediately regret asking that.
The
Go
amount
ahead.
of things I've done since I left this gosh dang closet. Man.
First of all, I want the record to show we have a extensive studio, very large,
Huge. Very large.
huge.
Absolutely.
It is
When you
gigantic.
see it, you're going to be very impressed.
when you see
Okay,
it, when you have a studio tour.
People have said
Some Universal Studios backlot.
studio. That's what they're saying.
That's
Some
the
have
best about his
said.
impression when he says, some people say.
Some people
Like,
are
Some have
saying
said.
they're saying
that?
it's a really great big studio.
The impression changed.
That's
Yeah,
a different
it's
person.
shifted.
I was
No,
tracking,
I'm
and
working
then
on a character. This is
Yeah.
not former President Donald Trump. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So
wanna
you've
know?
been up to something? Go ahead.
Okay, so I left, went to school. That was fun.
Yeah.
Still going to school.
Got
haven't
kicked out of
finished.
school.
Yeah,
Tell us
they
the
kicked me
story.
out. They said, don't come back, you know, blah, blah,
Don't
blah.
come back.
Okay.
Stop, you know.
They're just joking, though. I'm going to
Yeah,
show
no,
back
they're
up.
totally kidding. They're totally kidding.
They're joking.
They're
Yeah.
kidding. So, yeah, what else?
What'd you do this summer?
I worked at Hume Lake Christian Camps.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Is this the Hume Tell-All?
Yeah. What do you want to know?
Are you
Dun,
going
dun,
back?
dun.
Maybe?
Bro,
Give us
I don't know.
like,
So maybe we should be careful.
how about just some highs?
To be fair, though,
Just
like,
highs and lows,
we get like
okay?
50 people watching.
That's what I was.
Yeah,
I wasn't gonna say,
That's
but I was
a lot
gonna
of
say.
people. Could you get 50 people in a room at one time?
It depends on
know.
what
Yeah.
50.
I think I could.
Depends on the promises
Well,
you
It's
make.
the
July 8th.
hiring staff
Guy
at
knows
Hume Lake.
people.
If 25 of them work at Hume
Give us
Lake,
a
then I-
single high and a single low
from the whole summer.
that encapsulates the whole summer.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
really tough.
Yeah, like,
Well, and
how
then
do you
let's
even-
and then I have some moments to
You've
say
been back
to
for-
pinpoint.
Oh, yeah, because you
Totally.
were there
You've been back
too
for
a week.
yeah,
2
she
weeks.
visited me.
Yeah, I, unlike you guys, visited
true.
Go ahead.
Olivia to make sure she was
Oh, yeah, I was
okay.
going to drive 8 hours.
John,
Okay.
you can fly
Kill
to
'em.
Fresno.
Just to be clear, we did visit her.
I
No, you
didn't.
didn't.
So I don't know who
Aiden.
Yous guys is, but
You stole, didn't seize me.
check out Kara's
One high,
vlog.
one low.
It's
Go
a really
ahead.
good vlog.
I can tell
That's
this
right.
this episode is going to be chaotic as
Yeah.
hell.
No,
Yeah,
completely
I can
chaotic.
feel it. I feel the energy.
Okay.
It's like a family reunion.
Okay, third impression that is not landing
It's like
tonight.
Bill Cosby. What? You don't like Bill Cosby?
What?
okay.
Really?
Oh,
No.
we don't like Bill Cosby impressions now?
my God.
Bill Cosby.
Oh my gosh.
Literally, what year is it?
He's
Cut
the
his
father
mic.
of comedy.
Cut his mic.
He's never done anything. What are you
Cut his
talking-
mic.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Cut his mic.
Okay, yeah, one high and one low from 3 months time.
Yes.
Sure.
Like,
Were you there 3 months?
Yeah.
The setup was so
Yes.
good. One high, one low from 3 months time.
Like, come
Okay.
on. Okay, high would be. No, I'll start with low.
Okay.
I'll work my way up.
Yes, that's good. Call.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just one of each, right?
Bare
Or-
minimum. Yeah, well, we'll see. So I would say low. I had to clean toilets one day. That was
Wow.
actually the worst day of my life.
I was thinking
On
about
Earth.
this.
It's
when
character building.
It is.
With every
I won't
scrub
get
you
into
do.
It was
I'll wait till after you're
humbling.
done.
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead.
No, I'll wait till after you're done.
No, obviously you have
I
something
will.
you have to say.
No, it's not about you. It's about the camp. But I'll wait till you're done.
Totally. Okay, yeah, we'll circle back to that. That was my low for sure. I had like a full work day on my day off, and it was like horrible. Like
Yeah.
such a long day, and it was just I think I wasn't used to doing that kind of work, and I had a lot of respect.
Manual labor, yeah.
Yes, like straight up manual labor where you're cleaning floors like on your hands and knees. That was like crazy. But honestly, like I'm really thankful for that day. As rough as it was, like I had so much respect for the people that were doing it all summer. Like I could not imagine. The woman I was working with has worked at Hume Lake for like 7 years or something
Pass.
crazy doing that job.
I mean,
Pass.
that sounds cool.
Like, but I had so much
That's
respect
such
for
a
her.
class.
Because I like literally could never do that job. Like that is.
Yeah.
I mean, I could physically do that job, but I would never choose to do it.
But I would never want
Again,
to do that
you never
job.
go
Again.
back to the well, maybe.
Hey, you never know.
Not
No.
the greater well, but like cleaning
Like
on
scrubbing
my
the
hands
head.
and knees. Yes, I would
For
choose
sure.
to do something else, but like so needed. And like if people aren't doing that, then like what do you can't run
need it.
camp.
Somebody's got to clean the head.
Yeah.
Just straight up.
Oh, okay.
right.
But yeah, it was
All right.
really. It was
You
really
guys have never heard that?
amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, we've heard
Like,
it.
you want to hit the
Thank
head, yeah,
you.
but like, what
Pass.
if we like just not call it that?
Pass.
Oh, wow.
Or
Okay.
we're just like,
Bunch of perverts on this show. Go ahead,
Oh
Olivia.
my gosh.
But why was it so great? Because you had a bunch of
that's
friends. Because
backhanded.
you had a bunch of friends.
That was backhanded. No, it was amazing. Like the craziest experience of my life. Like I had never been I had never been away from my parents for that long. Like not even school, nothing. I'd like never not seen them for that long. So that was weird. And like being in a place so different from where I'm from was weird too. Like being in the mountains for that long was like
No surf up there in the mountains.
no surf.
So
Yeah, it was that was crazy. But I would say my highlight was just like meeting so many amazing people. Like there's so many cool people that work there, and like just like the friendships that I had. Like I was doing life with these people every single day for 3 months. Like I would see them from the moment I woke up.
Mona woke out.
Okay.
Help.
you got woke.
she was deep in the mountains. Okay, give her a
She's
break.
been there for a long time.
From the very
That's
early
what everybody
morning
says
hours
up there is woked up.
till like I went to bed.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
saw
sorry.
everybody up there.
I saw everybody
That
up there. We
See,
woke
And
up
I would
together, we went to
imagine
bed together.
there was more
Crazy.
than one like proverbial toilet that you had to scrub. Like
What does that
not
mean?
just well, not
Like,
just like
metaphorically.
yeah,
Oh,
like
like
it's not
physical
not
things.
just like scrubbing the
Yeah.
toilet, but like other toilets to scrub. You know.
Yeah, I mean, like emotionally, it's taxing because you're like with people all the time. Like
That's what I would think is the worst part.
that was tough. But honestly, like I felt like I lasted longer than I thought I was going to. Like it wasn't until like the very, very last month, last couple weeks that I was like, okay, I need a break. Like
Because you lived in like cabins with other people, obviously, and so
Yeah.
you're
Where she
really
stayed,
never alone.
Where she
Yes,
stayed was
yeah.
smaller than this room.
Oh yeah, like half the size, right?
I had 3 other. It was the size of this room.
No,
for sure.
no, it was smaller.
You mean gigantic because the studio's huge?
Literally
Yeah, right.
Sprawling.
pretty
Your cabin was
huge.
The
sprawling.
housing
cut
was
off
A mansion.
insane.
What
the middle of
hell,
this table.
guys?
I love when
That
Cara
way
explains
was the
things.
size, and I put 2
Wow.
bunk beds.
I didn't actually go into it. I'm
We
realizing
had
now.
we had at one point.
It's like yeah, it was tiny.
Wasn't you weren't allowed.
I never would.
At one point, I had 3 other roommates, and it was in a room like this size of this.
Yikes.
It was crazy. Like,
I'd be like, nah.
So much space.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
I'm good. Take the
it's
bus
good, like,
back.
you know what you're getting into. Like, you
Yeah,
know.
because that's interesting. I want to talk to you about that
Yeah.
because I don't know.
He's like, why?
I went there. I went to Hume a couple of years ago
Okay.
as a counselor, kind of like what
Yeah.
Annie did this year, and I like just the idea of being. I know you had cell service and you could like use your phone or whatever, but when you go as a counselor, most counselors, it's kind of 50-50. They just won't buy Wi-Fi and you just don't have cellular service. But I just couldn't imagine. Like when I was prepping to go up there, I was like a whole week, like I knew I was never going to be alone because I was like a counselor. I was going to be with kids the whole
Yeah.
time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I knew that I wasn't going to have like cell connection. And I was like, the idea seemed so daunting when you
Rough.
look at 3 months.
Yeah.
And again, you have cell service.
You
but
have more
other than
alone
that, I
time.
mean, you're kind of the same as a camper or a counselor.
Yeah.
That to me sounds really intimidating.
I would
It was
say
crazy.
you have a little bit more alone time. Like you and I were able to go and like meet up and get breakfast together.
Yeah,
That's not really alone time though. 'cause you're
Yeah,
with
but
somebody.
it's like
Sounds
it's
like she
time,
was entertaining,
it's time
like,
for
random
yourself.
passerbys.
Maybe like your like time for you,
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
where it's like hanging out with
Personal
who
time.
you want. Where like as a counselor, it's like here are these. In my case, it was here are these 17 kids.
Yeah.
If they want to have deep emotional conversations, you need to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, to be emotionally available for
I was like,
17 kids.
For
You're like,
17
yeah,
kids
cool,
for
that sounds
5
good.
days, cool.
let alone
yeah.
being emotionally available for anybody. Are you kidding me?
So
Not even
true.
myself.
You're
Who?
So true.
So how did you prep for it? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I didn't really know what to expect. I think like I knew it was gonna be difficult. Like I knew it was gonna be challenging, but I had just like visited camp before. Like I had never gone as a camper, so I like genuinely didn't know what I was like.
I was
doing.
gonna ask, did you ever go to Hume?
Yeah, I visited a
Who
week.
has the money for that? Huh? We'll get to that later. Just kidding. We won't.
Straight
We
up.
won't. I don't know. Will we? I don't know.
We'll talk about a hypothetical camp that has nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
we've
good
done
call.
since
Good
it's
call.
Good
smart, so
call, just in
smart.
case, because they're always listening.
Loom layovers.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Boom break. So tell me more about Boom Break.
Wait, what was the question that we were just about to talk about?
How did you mentally prepare for like the 3
Oh
months?
yeah. I don't like. I feel like training was helpful. Like
Sounds like you did it.
I did. I don't think I did.
Did you learn anything? Because I would imagine like a lot of it was in the moment. Did you learn anything about yourself? Did you learn anything
Oh,
about
yeah.
like
Self-discovery.
working with other people
Yeah. No,
through the process?
I feel like my biggest takeaway was that like
Don't do this again.
yes, stay far away from Boom Lake.
Boom Break is
Wrong.
not
Totally
what you
destroying
want.
it. Sorry. I'm sorry. We should.
No. I feel like you are capable of a lot more than you think. Like I was pushed in ways that I didn't expect. Like as far as like stepping out of my comfort zone, with like our job first was like super difficult for me because I was like not super comfortable with heights when I signed up for this job. And I had like I'd
Classic.
done like whatever, I'd done like zip lines and stuff, but I was like supposed to be a high adventure guide. So we were like trained
I love
on
they
like
call it a high adventure guide. That is so much cooler than just a roach
hag.
course. Person.
Hags.
yeah.
Do
But-
they use the term hags? That's funny.
Yeah, we were called hags.
that's
It was
so
so fun.
awesome.
But we like it like I was supposed to be up there to help assist kids when they were scared. So
And
like
you're like, I'm terrified.
I'm like, no, trust
So-
me. Like I am exactly where you are.
I know
But like
exactly where you are.
I like after going through training, I was like, if you just like tell yourself you're gonna do it, like then you end up doing it. And so like I just learned how to be like good with it and being like in the trees every day. But
In the trees.
yeah, and this
That's beautiful.
so much
Is that
lingo.
like the name of the book you're writing?
Yes,
In the
in the
trees.
trees,
every
in the
day.
And
trees.
it's to tell all
with
about
Olivia
about
Tafolla.
Yes,
Her time in
Boom
Vietnam.
big.
Yeah.
My time in the trees.
So true in the trenches. But yeah, like I mean there were so many things. Like you probably saw my Snapchats. I drove a bus
Yeah.
when I was up there.
That was going to be what I was going to
So
refer to.
awesome.
yes.
Well, it seemed like maybe a breaking point from the TikTok I saw.
Yeah.
I worried. I said, "Is Olivia
Is she
okay?"
okay? Yeah, that's a good question. I got a lot of those questions when I was up
Drove
there.
a
Old
bus.
me.
Have you've never driven a vehicle
No.
to
Now
such
Now you
caliber?
can add that to your
No.
resume. Can drive a bus.
I know, like
Gosh.
literally, if I needed to be a
But I don't
school
think
bus driver,
I
I
don't
could
think
do
any
it.
bus is like that bus anymore.
No.
That's
That
like
bus
a
was
what?
like from
It
the
is like
60s,
1970s
driven up
school kid.
once, never
Yeah.
I
gone
love
down the
it.
mountain.
I love it.
Yeah.
And his name was Wayne.
His name was Wayne.
Well,
Mystery to me.
did you name him Wayne or was he already Wayne?
He's had like a long history at Hume. He
The
has like
leather mat when you step in says Wayne.
yeah.
Just
Like
like,
the
I
brand.
love-
Campers like know Wayne. Like he's like his own
He's
personality.
the guy. He's
if
the
I
bus.
can chime in
love
for a
it.
minute, like a lot of things at Hume Lake or Boom Break, I should say.
Boom Break?
Everything at Hume feels like there's like lore
Lore,
behind.
yeah.
Like
Oh,
everything's
yeah.
got lore. They have little rhymes for
trash can.
everything.
Yeah.
The trash can, like
Yeah.
every game has a little like.
Good job, you can. Is that what you're
Whoa.
Yes,
The
yes.
golden trash
the golden
can.
trash
They-
can.
One of the nights we were there, they played this game called Gladiator, and every time somebody ran the Gladiator course, it was like. Rain or shine, gladiator time. Like everything had
yeah.
a little
Oh,
rhyme.
is that on the little lake thing?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
the dock? Oh, yeah.
I
That was
always,
so scary.
I tell my
Time.
kids, I
I
said,
That.
It's something time, not gladiator time.
Gauntlet,
It's
gauntlet.
it's
Gauntlet
gauntlet.
time.
It's the gauntlet.
Yes, sorry.
I bribe my kids day one of camp every day. I say, I will do leader Kajabi. I will not do the gauntlet.
Gauntlet is
Because it's like
Gauntlet,
you're
not
riding a
gladiator.
bike, right? Or
no. So they got rid of that.
Oh, they got because it used to
So-
when I was there. They rode a
The
bike
bike jump.
down
Ramp.
this on this ramp.
They
Yeah.
got rid of bike
Into
jump.
the and I was like, I'm not doing that. I
No.
literally told like our leader that was with us, I was like, I absolutely will not
So
do that.
the
just so you
gauntlet
know.
is like an obstacle course on the water, and then at the very end, it's like whoever is the buffest
Oh, I
guy
remember
at
that.
camp.
Yes.
Then
Yeah.
you try to tackle him off, and then you have people that run after you and like
The
rip
lifeguards.
you off. and if
yeah.
listen,
It's like a King
if
of the Hill
you're-
situation.
If you're like really athletic
What the
and
hell?
like ripped, it looks great and it's super cool.
It looks
If you're
Just
not,
imagine me running that course. It's like,
that's what
nah.
I'm saying.
Be like, dang,
It's
like, look at that
there's,
guy. He's
I
so
can
that
stop like
one-
right before we can get.
There's
Oh,
and it's
well.
always a guy leader. There's always like one guy leader that gets roped in because like the girl leader on the team doesn't want to do it, and he's freaking like gets 2 things in, slips off, and then like you just watch the rest of the time as he
Yep, you
struggles to
struggle.
try to get back up the thing, and it's like,
Yeah.
It's pretty epic.
yeah.
It just, I felt like the Grinch, and I felt like the chair of cheer was coming, and I'm just like, you didn't say anything about the chair of cheer. Like there was always like a next thing, like okay, the fudge competition, like trying the fudge. You know the scene I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
John.
the
it's the
classic.
best.
The classic.
That's how I felt in the
can't
2 days I
even-
was at Hume.
Shot French. What
You
is
didn't
that?
say anything about the chair of cheer. The sack race, right?
Yep.
Like there's all like little rhymes, and it's like every little spot of camp is
very
like
The Grinch
planned.
hits, man.
Yes.
Anytime you hear the Grinch hits, just for the record. Go
No,
ahead.
nightmare
It's coming
fuel.
any moment now.
Absolute nightmare fuel. I hate that, like,
It's like, oh, this little part of like this building's called like the Doodah Ranch or something.
Yeah,
like, oh,
the
this
Doodah
like everything's
And
got
that-
a thing
actually,
up
they're
there.
actually all called the Doodah Ranch.
Yeah.
It
It's
makes you
crazy.
feel like you're in this other world for like the whole week. I would
Yeah.
imagine that's a fun camp to attend, like as a kid, because
Well,
you're just
even
like,
to be a part of it, like I know as like a counselor, you get so sucked in where it's like, oh, I'm going to be on the human bean stack, and I'm going to do this and that, and like all you just start using all the lingo,
The lingo.
and all stuff, and then you see everyone kind of transform, especially like the pastors. I always think it's so
Whoa.
funny. They kind of by the end of the week start dressing like the like Hume leaders.
No.
So good.
Always
The
they buy the
merch.
Hume merch and they start to
Yep,
kind of
yep,
like
yep.
roll up,
Shave their beard, just have a
roll
little
up
mustache.
The
Hey,
mustache.
Go ahead.
Please.
Go ahead.
I saw a TikTok today
All right.
Uh-oh.
of someone drinking coffee from human beings. Is it another chain?
Oh,
I can
Like,
tell you what.
is it an
Hume
actual
doesn't
coffee
definitely
chain?
own
No,
that, for
No.
sure.
No, it's just up at Hume. Like they have their own like roasting company.
Did you
This
see
was
somebody-
literally the human beings.
like the logo we saw at the place, or just a different place called Human Beans.
It's all falling
There's
apart now.
2 of them
I don't
at
know,
Hume.
but I saw one and I was like, bung.
Yeah, it's not a chain. It's just at Hume.
I was gonna
I'm
say,
sure
yeah.
They might
somewhere
have it at
else
the
in the
other camps
world
at Hume.
has.
Human beans. Was it because it's there? It's Hume and Beans,
Yeah.
and I'd imagine somebody else has a company called Human Beans.
It's called the human being.
Oh,
Okay,
there you
it's
go.
Different company.
Different.
There you
The
have it.
human
The
being.
cut the just Facebook.
Tell you what,
It's cleaner.
Weird.
I can say this because I'll never work there.
ahead.
The coffee really fell off
Oh
since
my
the
God,
last
it was
time I was at Hume.
horrible.
So
Apparently,
bad.
they like do their own coffee or something. They used to outsource it. And
They
now
roast their own beans. They're good.
I don't think
like
they
the-
roast their own beans.
I think they-
fry their own
Well, they-
beans.
Okay.
They
do-
were- they were
just
air frying
buy-
their
they
beans.
just buy- I've heard. Now I'm not a coffee roaster, so I don't know. But they said that they buy cheap beans, so that's why it's not as good.
cheap beans.
That'll do it.
That'll
They
do.
like roast it correctly, but the beans are cheap.
When they said we have to put 5 shots in one latte to make you taste anything, that was
That was a little
rough.
saucy. It was a little weird.
Barista.
I get it.
vibes,
I
I'm
mean-
saying.
Barista.
I
We were up there
I-
3 days, John. I couldn't get a good cup of
Yeah.
coffee. All
Yeah.
right, really?
I
Yeah,
can tell
it's
it rocked you.
imagine
I can
3
tell it
months.
rocked you. Imagine Olivia. She was up there for 3 months.
Take it from me.
I can't.
So-
I truly can't imagine.
Survival.
Well,
No,
good.
I mean,
good
it's
on
one
you.
Of those, it's one of those things where you're up there and like you're just like that's your whole world for
Mm-hmm.
3 months. And I think that's the fun part is like it doesn't like part of it doesn't feel like a job because you're just there and it's like
Oh, okay.
Summer
you're
camp.
at
It literally
camp.
is summer camp.
And
Yeah.
it's so fun. I think I learned that you can do a lot more than you think you can because like I was saying the bus.
The bus.
I like didn't know how to drive a bus. They taught me in one day how to drive it and then I was like completely fine.
You had to drive it the rest of the summer.
Yeah. And it was awesome and it was so
Hey, man,
fun.
Drive the bus.
And there are so many
Terrifying.
things like that where you're just like you learn it and then suddenly you know how to do it and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like capable of doing this.
I feel like that's probably the last place on earth that really happens. You know what I'm saying? Like in
Yeah.
a legitimate workplace now, you could never get away with 1 day of training and hoping that the person doesn't sue you. You know what I'm
Chipotle.
saying? Like genuinely, I feel like everywhere now, except for maybe Hume Lake, I don't know. There's probably some of the corners of the earth that don't have like regulation like that. But you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Because I feel like now, if you in like a job situation, if I started a job and they're like, even the job I'm doing now,
Go for it.
and they gave me like 2 hours of training, they're like, go for it. I like, and I screwed up, like, I'm suing them, right?
That was the hardest part of
Take 'em down.
the job is I was so nervous that like if something happened to one of the kids and it could have not even been my fault. It
On the
could have
bus.
been the kid like
Or on the high ropes course.
was being irresponsible and like put their
Yeah,
harness
but
on
that's
wrong
why they
or
put.
something like
That's why they signed all those waivers. all that paper.
I don't know.
Like,
I think
still,
they could
it's
take
like-
a camp like that down.
They probably could.
But let's
Oh,
just
so you
I
start
mean-
to uncover all the
Well,
dirty secrets.
Let's be honest. The money, we
negligence,
haven't
I'm
gotten to the
sure.
money yet, so I don't know that it would take them down entirely. But
But I
it
mean,
might
let's
take
just
a
say
hit.
like the camper was like, I was completely fine. Whatever, legally I'm fine. It's like if somebody gets hurt, like you still
Sure.
feel like it's your fault, and so like that's what stresses
Well,
me.
that's
out
what
the most.
I sometimes think about that with like really young, like even like high school teachers. Like they were just in school maybe, less than 10 years ago. And they're like now in charge of like kids when they're like in their most developing stage of their life. And it's like, yeah, like now you got to teach them physics. Like go for it.
Yeah.
Young adult.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Like, your rudimentary physics skills will be the deciding factor whether or not they become physicists. So
yeah. So
better be good.
Look,
What was the youngest teacher you think you had?
I easily had teachers that were in their
20s,
like early 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Easy.
Yeah.
easy.
I think
I
my
had
youngest
none.
teacher was like
Maybe and especially subs.
27.
Especially subs.
Are you
But
talking about
I
high
had
school?
Yeah.
in high school.
Subs were the wild
Oh
cards.
my gosh, high school. I didn't have a teacher younger than 35.
No,
Really? You think
did.
so?
You
Yes.
did.
I'm
No,
sure you did.
Every single teacher. They were all old women, either like
Okay, coming for
Early
West Hills right
40s.
now.
But to be fair though, when you're in high school, like it's hard to tell the gauge of your teacher. You just sometimes
me.
you sometimes
yeah,
you
but you think
they're
back
older.
now. You think back now, and you think, did I have a teacher that was my age now? No.
Sure.
Yes, you
I did
did.
not.
You don't think you
Kara,
had
you
any
100
26-year-old
No.
Oh, your
teachers?
yearbook. I
we'll have to
guarantee we
check
can
the
track
yearbook.
one down.
It's
that was
always weird for me
25
to
or
see people who
26.
I went to high school with now becoming high school teachers.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
You?
you?
Well, all my family
Out of everyone?
teachers, and I'm like, and I'm starting to realize, like, especially when I think back about my school experience, I'm like, yeah, I'm sure all my teachers were probably 26
The
and
youngest
27.
teacher
Like,
I ever had,
I don't know.
like ever,
Okay,
through
you're making a
elementary
bold statement
school
right
and
now.
middle
Let's
school.
hear it. Let's
Okay,
hear it.
I
The
wanna hear it.
oldest
The oldest.
The
was
oldest.
32. The oldest.
How would you know that?
I don't
No
know.
way.
I don't
There's
know.
no
I'm
way.
friends with her on
There's
Facebook.
We will-
I'm friends with
way.
her
We
on
will
Facebook.
check. She's 32 now, or
No.
She
no,
was
no, no.
32 then.
Yes.
And
In
that's
eighth
the
grade.
youngest
will-
teacher you had?
Please.
remind
How
me
would you
in
know
one
by
week.
her age now?
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't know.
I'm friends with her on Facebook.
So you'd have to count
just
back the
saying,
amount
Kara,
of years
I would
since
put-
she was
How much money do you want to put on this?
your
I feel like
teacher.
that's like a young
For
profession,
high
isn't it?
school,
Wait, how old is
No,
she
how
now?
much money do you want to bet that,
It goes in waves,
one
like
of
nursing.
one of your teachers in all of your school experience was at least under 30?
Yeah. How
I
much?
will say with Cara to defend Cara, it wasn't until high
know how
school that
much.
I had someone under the age of probably like
I can
40,
say all of my
50.
teachers,
You guys don't
and
know-
they were
I-
all old.
I'll say
school teachers-
elementary school. I had a lot of old crusty teachers.
We had young teachers in elementary school. Yes,
it was,
we did.
you know, it was kind
I
of
take
split
it back. I had
right down the
Mrs.
middle.
Jones, and she was my 7th grade English teacher. She'd never taught English before, and she told us, reminded us that every single day when we went down for English class. She goes, I am a math teacher, and they needed me to teach English, and I'm sorry in advance. And she was like, probably 26, 27. She had like this, like maybe like
That's
2,
so
3-year-old at
It was
home.
always 50-50.
And when I tell you, the rumor that she was a Playboy bunny was rampant.
Stop.
And she had this thing where it was
I haven't
like
even
the
seen
first,
her, and I fully believe it.
the first week of school where she folded papers in half and like cut them up, and you would ask questions and then you would open it and she would have answered them, which I was like such a cool way to connect with your kids.
So good.
And I asked her,
Are you
and
a
I
Playboy
said,
bunny?
I said, is the rumor true that you used to be a Playboy bunny? And her
Asking the
response
questions.
was iconic. She goes, if I was ever a Playboy bunny, do you think I'd be teaching an alpine?
Wait, what?
That's
what
true.
age was this?
I was in the 7th grade.
It sounds like witness
And I was like,
protection if she's an alpine.
Genius.
Maybe she was escaping.
She's so smart.
wanted to
I was
advertise.
like, she's got
Right?
a
The
she's
whole
got a
town's
damn
like
good
witness
point. Why
protection,
the
you
hell
know?
would she be here? I was like,
My
most
God.
unsafe
that was the
neighborhood.
moment
That's
I
what
was
she
like,
wants
she's
you to
right.
think.
She's right.
That is so iconic.
I'm literally
Ryan
thinking
believes it.
every single teacher from freshman year, they were all
At least 31, right?
No, because
at
you're
least
26
40.
now.
At
You're 26
least.
now.
40?
Hey,
Yes,
nothing's
all
Okay.
of them.
It's
Okay,
like when you're
let's
young,
do this.
everyone is old.
Let's
Everyone
do
is
this.
100 years old.
That's
when
what
you're
I'm
We're gonna
saying.
just
It's like there
look
definitely
it
was a
up.
younger
You'll be
one.
surprised
This is
like
gonna be
how young they actually
We're
were.
going to table this conversation. We'll just crack open the yearbook.
It's
I
like
can
they
look
were
at
like
all of my teachers'
100,
Facebooks
and they
right
were
now.
also 8
that's
feet
okay.
tall, and
That's
their
all right.
hands were the size of like.
That's what I'm saying. It was
Baseballs.
always like 50-50. We definitely had the old crusty teachers, but there was always
Oh,
young
for
teachers.
sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I want to
yes,
name them,
yes.
but then I don't want to roast them.
Ryan.
By
and
the
no
way,
one-
Okay,
it's so
question.
specific.
Go ahead.
Question.
Yeah,
Go
what's your
ahead.
question?
Did you take honors in AP?
I
Yes, I did.
took one honors class, and I regret it to this day.
I remember all the young teachers
You
at
didn't
West
take
Hills did not teach AP and honors, and that's all I took.
Damn.
Well, it's not to say that one of the
No.
teachers that you thought was 30 was not 26.
Yeah, that's what
They
I'm
were
saying.
not my age right now. No way.
That's what I'm saying. Is
They-
like
The way
you're
you
that
feel,
age now.
or the age you are.
Exactly.
Like, I mean,
No, the age that
Ryan's
Miss
trying
Ryan-
to spin this. Ryan's trying
I'm
to
saying
spin
right
this
now-
hard.
I'm trying to help.
I'm saying
I'm
that
trying to help.
Mrs. Young,
Yes.
my geography teacher,
Okay.
who was married,
Her name
Okay.
is Young.
she was also lesbian,
Okay.
Okay,
had
not,
a wife
not pertinent to
at
the
the
story.
school,
Slay.
was way over 30. Way over 30.
In what year you think?
In 2010,
Were you in high school then?
She
Yes.
was young.
Nothing
I was
has
freshman
changed.
year.
Olivia.
Freshman year, you're
Nothing.
saying she was 30.
she was like 34.
My case study is
feel
still
like I left
in
yesterday.
disarray.
Okay.
It's
So
getting
you're
worse.
saying right now she
There's more
is
loose
Same,
40.
Mr. Peterson.
No,
He
just
had-
that teacher
he
you just
had
mentioned.
A 10-year-old
You're saying he was
daughter.
45
He
now.
had a 10-year-old daughter.
That
Mr.
doesn't-
Peterson.
You're
That's
making
one
now
teacher.
you're making assumptions about
My
what
PE
age people
teacher.
have children.
True.
She was an older woman whose,
could be 25.
whose son was in high school.
Unfortunately,
I'm just saying, Cara, there's
Ryan.
a better probability that at least one of your teachers in your entire school experience was under 30. There's just a better
we get on this
percentage.
topic?
we have to
How did
move
we
on
get on
from
this
this
topic?
conversation.
Okay.
For the love of God.
And I'm going to do it this way.
And this is when we
my
announce that what the
transition.
podcast is ending.
You know,
Wait, I didn't get to say all the good things
I'm
about
thinking
you.
a lot about
Pass.
your experience at
Good
Hume.
things. Good things.
What are your good
And
things?
you just had like such a time where you were pushing yourself, you know, like when do we get that later in life, right? Like
Your job.
when was the last time you like pushed yourself in your job?
8 years ago.
At
Today,
least,
when
right?
I had
I
to-
started.
You know
Today
what I've
when I
been
had to catch a cockroach.
You know what I've been hearing about
Never
a lot
pushed
lately?
myself.
This is a buzzword that I've seen on certain, like articles or whatever. It's called quiet quitting. Have you heard
What?
about this?
I just heard about this.
Quiet quitting is
I'm
and
a
it's
loud
fully
quitter.
buzzwordy, right? Like Forbes is putting it in magazines like employees are quiet quitting. And this is a concept of like doing the bare minimum at your job because mentally you've quit. Like you're not quitting your job, but you're quiet quitting.
See,
Some people
I
are
know.
saying it's
I
healthy.
was still loud
for
quitting.
everybody or for what?
Well, some people are saying it's healthy in big corporations because
Sure.
big corporations make lots of money. And like people that
Why
go
are you
above and
working
beyond
so
never
hard?
get promotions, never get raises. And it's like, why do that for a corporation that's making millions? And it's like, I think it should happen in corporations that aren't promoting within and like honoring that stuff. But
What do you think, Annie?
Well, like at some point, you're signing on to that. Like, okay, Amazon.
Right?
If you're signing up for a job where there's about a million other people in the exact same job as you, you're not going to be like, I can work my way up the ladder. Pretty soon, I'm going to be sitting right next to
right.
Jeff on that spaceship. Like, you know what you're getting yourself into. So we're
I
like,
love that character, by the way. Hold on to that.
Eager.
So you think like at a certain
some point, you know what you're
like
getting
there's no room for
into.
advancement at Amazon.
Okay,
like you're
like,
you're a cog in the machine.
Fight Club.
Okay.
The guy who he's like, I hate my
Preach.
job, and then he has that whole mental break.
Yes.
All this stuff. Well, at some
Spoiler
point,
alert.
it's like, okay, but like, quit your job. You know what your job is.
Right.
Like, if you don't like your job, find something in the same field that's more exciting.
Or it's the
Push yourself to
this
try
is
something
like
new.
What me and my coworkers say, like, why are you taking this job so seriously? Like it's
Interesting.
not your life.
Well, it
But what
depends
is
on
your
why
life? I mean, what is your job and what is your life, right?
I do work to live or live to work.
Go ahead, Olivia.
Yeah, I was gonna say it depends on like why you're doing it. Like if you're doing it just to make more money, then
Mm-hmm.
obviously switch jobs. But if you're doing it to see if like you're capable of it, or like if you want to be proud of your work that you're doing, then
Mm-hmm.
like that's why you're trying to achieve more.
So this really brings us to the real question. Olivia, when do you become a like city bus driver?
Soon, I hope.
that'd be awesome.
Soon, within the next
be
5 years. It's
so
in my
cool.
5-year plan at least.
it is interesting though.
You know what I mean? Because it's encouraging to hear like, oh, you worked all summer and like you got a lot out of it beyond like getting because obviously I'm sure your paycheck wasn't like great.
No, I
Whatever,
mean,
a
as,
summer
like,
job at a summer
camps go-
camp,
yeah.
right?
I feel
That's
like-
fine.
yeah.
But
Across the
the
board.
experience you got out of it was valuable to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like just like the work, there's like a lot of things I got out of it. The work experience, like I did so much, like in a small period of time. That was really cool. And then like obviously like the interpersonal relationship aspect, like working that close to people for that long and like in such small quarters, like challenges you. That was really cool. And then like spiritually, like I don't know, just being up there and like being in a space where there's all like Christians around you that are like seeking,
people are pouring into intentionally.
Yeah, and like you like you get to learn so much from the people around you, and like I don't know, it's just a really cool experience.
So what breaks for people? Like at what point does somebody go, okay, mentally I'm just gonna like not try at my job. I'm gonna do the bare minimum. I'm gonna show up.
Probably when something wrong happens to you. Like someone did you bad.
Or you realize that you are just the bottom of the tier list, right? At Amazon.
I think the difference is okay. So like to look at Olivia's job this summer, they worked you to the point where like if Amazon did that to their workers, they would have a strike at times. Yeah, like having you work on a day off,
and
having you know like do things like way outside your job description. But the difference is like at the same exact time, yes, they were asking arguably too much from you. They were also like very intentionally pouring into you and like making sure you had spaces to go and have like these small groups that they would set up, these like home groups. So you would have like this small group of people who become like a family to you for this 3 months. So you have somewhere to go that's not, you know, your workspace. You have people to go to that aren't just your bosses. And like they were very intentional in like making spaces for you to feel like you weren't just like gonna break and you're not being used, like that you are a person. And I think that's where a lot of these big companies lack is like, okay, well, yes, you need them to work this job, but like also they're a person. When's the last time you actually poured into them as a person, as a, you know, their overseer in some way?
So feeling valued.
And the work you're doing is cool too. Like you can see.
Yeah, because
like,
so like work to live or live to work. If you're like, hey, I'm just, you know, I'm going to work at Chipotle or something, and I'm going to work at McDonald's and have my 9 to 5 and then go home, because you're like, yeah, like this is just a job for me. Just the way that I make my money, I'm actually like, you know, whatever. I'm trying to be a streamer. Like I want to do this. I want to do like whatever it is at home or with your people.
Also,
I'm a
it's
podcaster.
Like mindset too, because like, come on, you went in that summer knowing, hey, this is gonna be an L monetary wise. Like you just know that going into like a summer camp like that vibe. But like it's gonna be amazing memories and such a fun, exciting summer. Yeah. I'm gonna be exhausted as hell, but like it's gonna be worth it.
Yeah, no, totally.
It's also
what
like
do you think,
mindset.
John? Are you quiet quitting yet, or are you still working?
Quiet quitted years ago.
Grinding your nose to the stone?
Yeah, I think quiet quitting. I was thinking about that because I saw a TikTok like that, and I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely me. And not like, I think there's a couple of reasons, not specifically why I necessarily would be like quiet quitting, but I think one of the reasons is if like you have a bad work environment. You know, like I had a friend who had a really bad, like was in a situation where his boss like didn't like him, and it really discouraged him, and it was like, and he ended up leaving the job, but it was like kind of his reason to quiet quit, because he's like he could tell his like boss and his leadership didn't care about him, and that was just like he was just done. You know,
he's like, I don't want to lose my paycheck, but I'm done trying.
And I think personally, I think a lot of people, the reason they're doing quiet quitting is because, like you said earlier, like they want to do something else, and they realize that something else isn't financially feasible. You know, like if it was financially feasible and I could do podcasting or production like full time, and I thought it was like a genuine source of income, that's what I would do. But I also don't mind going to working a job that I'm good. Like I'm good at the job, and I get to like leave the job and be like, I don't have to think about it outside of the 8 hours. That's good with me too. You know, it's like the reason we do it. Right?
And I think it is like, you kind of nailed it. It's like just setting healthy boundaries. Like I think it's being like, this word is being weaponized against whoever, millennials, young people, Gen Zers, because it's like, oh, they're just lazy. Like they're not getting their, 5 minutes of fame on TikTok, and so they're quiet quitting. They're doing the bare minimum.
It's also, I guess, this came out a couple years ago, the like attention span, and it's saying how like millennials and Gen Z is like fully, you have a job for a year and they change, and then have a job for a year and then change,
which is like, yeah, great. I do it, right?
But it's just different from people who've had jobs for 20 years.
Totally.
I grew up with parents who like did the same career like
their whole lives.
My mom's been a teacher for 33 years, and my dad was a cop for 32. And like, I grew up thinking that you just like chose something and that's what you did. And funny, we talked about teachers.
Which
I
people
had a teacher,
sometimes do.
Sure.
I had a teacher who I really liked, and he like had just become a teacher, and he was like in his late 30s, and I kind of asked him, I was like, did you find this late? Like, you obviously found this career late in life. Like, what was it like? And he was like, he's like, every 5 or 6 years, he's like, I just want to try something new. And he's like, and if teaching is what I end up loving, and like I'll stay longer, or if it's not, then he's like, I was a welder in like a shop, and then I was like, you know, in a corporate office doing this, and he's like, and he's like, every 5 or so years, I intentionally like assess where I'm at and decide if I'm enjoying it or not, and I move on if I'm not, or if I am, I stay.
That seems like a good amount of time.
And
5 years.
I had never even put that conceptual idea like together in my mind, that I was like, oh, you could do like 6 different jobs in your lifetime, because it just doesn't. In my head, it never seemed like feasible. It never felt like financially possible to do that. But it is in the day and age. And I don't think quiet quitting, for the record, like I don't think quiet quitting is a bad thing.
I don't think so either.
I think quiet quitting, I truly think, and this is like a bold statement, I really think like the world turns on quiet quitting people. I think like people that do the job that are boring, and maybe they like it at some point, but they just like clock in and clock out, and they do the menial jobs to keep the world going around.
Are you
know?
on workplace boundaries TikTok?
I'm not sure.
I am.
No.
And it's like how to respond to your boss if your boss asks you to
I
like
love that girl.
to like speak on the weekend or something like that.
Oh.
Like, no, I'm gonna just call you Saturday, and like the like response of like, well, that's outside of my, you know, allotted work hours. That's personal time, and I will not be able to talk. You can email me, and I can get back to you on Monday. No, it's just gonna take a second. Like, I'm gonna call you on Saturday. Like, you need to be a team player. It's like, I'm so sorry you feel that way, but like, that's actually not in my job description. I am being a team player by looking out for myself to make sure I can act, you know, to the best of my abilities for your team. And in that is like a lot of time for myself and my family. So I will get back to that on Monday. Thank you so much for understanding. And just like,
I wonder if that's going to like change as young people get older and become the bosses. Like if that'll normalize in the workplace, because that's definitely not a normal thing. It's like, if you're working full time, it's like, hey, you know, you're working 40 hours, but you're actually more likely working 60 hours, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, is that good? Does that make better business? Or is that actually like slowly killing us? I don't know. You know?
Well, like my manager right now, he'll answer anything.
Sure.
Which is probably unhealthy.
What do you mean? Like if you called him right now, he'd answer?
Yes. Yeah. But then like my assistant manager, if I like text her on a day off saying like, hey, just seeing that you got my request, she will not answer until she is back on the clock in work.
And I think that's good, but I also think to some extent it's good for your manager. Like his job is to oversee all of his employees.
Yeah.
And so if a random employee is like, hey, like I'm sick, I can't come into work, like, and nobody's scheduled, like he's got to schedule somebody to come in. So it's like, does that fall on him, or is like
that was a big difference between like small company and big company. Because where I am now, it's like, oh, I've done this before. Like, I need to like call out sick, and he's like, great, I'll try and find someone to cover your schedule, feel better. Where like at Starbucks, it was literally like, nope, you're gonna get marked up if you don't come in, or if you don't find someone yourself.
Literally, Starbucks.
I
quiet quit
with the Big
Starbucks
Mermaid.
real fast.
Dang, good for you.
I heard something on TikTok, and it like resonates in a different way on this topic. And this guy's like, if you want to shop without looking at the price tag, you have to be willing to work without looking at the clock.
Ew.
And I
so
think
cringy.
that is like,
what do you think about that?
That is so cringy.
If you wanna,
listen, here's what I think.
Because part of that is maybe
like
true.
working around the clock,
right?
Work
I think
as hard as you
have
can,
both.
whatever you can.
Like did just to like fully go there for a second, like did Walt Disney like did he work on the clock? No, he was committed to a thing, and he made his entire
different.
life. Is it different? He made his
It's
entire
different 'cause,
life
like you're
making
the person
Disney.
making it. Like with my business,
100%.
like
you're the person making it.
I'm the person making it. I don't have allotted hours. If someone was like, hey, here's this contract, you work between these hours, I would be like, okay, you're paying me this much for me to work between these hours. and that's what I'm going to do. And I'll do a damn good job in those hours. But when you don't like, when you're like, okay, the only person that's going to make money is me. So I have to work when I can, however I can, making like he had to hustle deals all over to do that.
Yeah,
like,
but you're hustling deals too.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm working outside allotted hours that I had worked before.
Exactly. And that's making that's elevating your business.
But if I hire someone below me, they're working within their allotted hours. I don't want them to work outside of it.
Sure. Yeah.
So with Walt, like Walt was
But I'm
top.
saying like that person's then making you money.
It's like a reverse pyramid scheme where like the person who starts it holds the weight of everyone.
100%.
But if
I
you
agree.
but if you work outside of your hours too much, doesn't the quality of work go down because you're exhausted and you're like not giving your 100%?
Maybe.
Stop.
But how do you? But like, when do you realize that? Like, when is the end? When, like, if you have a dream, like you have this thing you're trying to build, right? Like, when is it like good enough for you?
Can you achieve success and also be happy? Like, I feel like you can do that and you don't have to overwork yourself. Like, it doesn't require this unhealthy amount of work to achieve that.
I think that's in the mindset, right?
What I was going to say about that is like I think that mindset, that quote of like not looking at the clock and working and hustling, like that is just like a personality. In my opinion, it's like that's like a personality thing. Like somebody does it and that's what they love. You know what I'm saying? So I think it does depend on what you're looking for. But truthfully, and like whoever was saying that quote, that's what they live by. Like they want to make a ton of money and they're willing to work as hard whenever to make that money. Now, I'm not willing to do that, but I'm also willing to look at the price tag. Like I'm not worried about, I don't need to go out and spend all this money on this stuff that I would potentially want. I'm happy where I'm at doing the hours that I'm doing, and I'm happy to look at the price tag. I mean, I think that saying goes both ways, but ultimately there's the truth of the matter is that you're either that kind of person or you're not. And there's no wrong answer. It's all about what you want. But like I said, it's just interesting.
Yeah,
I don't
totally.
know. I don't know if I'm having a hard time like accepting quiet quitting as being like a good thing. Because, like, don't you always want the quality to be good? Like, it doesn't matter what your job is. Like,
for me,
it's not about quality. I talk about it's more about like
you're not going above and beyond
like,
anymore.
When you're not doing a bad job. Doing a bad job in those 8 hours is a total different thing. We're talking about in this scenario, quiet quitting is like I'm not doing anything outside of my normal job description.
Well, there's a difference between overworking and bare minimum.
Like, yeah, and is everyone putting that on me, or am I going like, hey, yeah, I'm the closing guy at IHOP, right? I got to clean all the tables at the breakfast place. I don't know. I didn't want to keep saying McDonald's over and over, so that's IHOP.
IHOP, okay.
You're the closer at IHOP. So are you going to do the bare minimum, or is this your life and are you comfortable with that? Like, are you like, yep, I'm just going to do the bare minimum
job?
For what? Like,
oh, if you're the CEO of a company, you're going to go above and beyond. But if you're the, whatever, if you're a janitor in that same company, are you going to work as hard as
why would you not do it to the best of your abilities at least?
Same quality work.
Not just like enough to get by.
People follow how they're led. So like if your boss is leading in a way where they're working constantly outside their hours, all that stuff, not to say that that's like what they should expect everyone from everyone, but if that is how the company is like run, and I think part of it is like on people to look into where they're taking these jobs.
Sure.
So it's like ask the people who are actually working there. It's like, hey, are they very good about like when I worked at a bridal shop, it was the first time ever that I had a company actually make sure I had lunch breaks and didn't have me work through my lunch.
Wow.
I'd never worked anywhere that wasn't like, oh, if you have emails, like, oh, and me being like, oh, I think I'm just going to like, eat my lunch at my desk while I like answer them. Like my boss at that bridal shop was like, you need to clock out. You cannot touch a dress. You need
when you're eating.
Wow.
But, the whole thing
Shoot about it.
Well,
happens to Sharp all the time.
Well, the whole thing was like, like you need to take a lunch break. Like it's legally you have to take a break, and you cannot be working in it.
Oh my gosh!
And I was like, what?
It's genuine.
The quality of work goes up.
It's genuine because
definitely.
somebody probably tried to sue that bridal
I
company.
bet.
No, actually, I know the history of the bridal company. They have been sued, not about that though. About other things.
Okay, wow.
All right, I'm just saying.
This is the
Literally
bridal tell-all again.
At Starbucks,
It's a murder in the bridal.
you could literally say, "No, I don't want to take my break," and they let you.
Yeah, that's pretty.
They'd say, "Okay, work."
Well, that's with any company. I thought you can like sign that waiver.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
you
for
can like waiver
15s.
and then you can go early.
Oh, that's
Go
kind of cool.
early. What the?
Like 30 minutes early or whatever.
Yeah, that's a
Olivia's
waiver.
been signing some fake piece of paper.
It's a waiver.
They're like,
Also,
"Oh, okay,
It's a
everyone,
paper.
has
It's a
it.
paper that says no
Every
lunch, but
company
you can
has
leave
it.
early.
it's a
That was at the
waiver
lot.
that if, and also it stipulates that if you only work 5 hours, you don't
Have to
take
take
a
a
lunch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
That's the-
it's
that's
all
the
in that
15.
too.
Yeah.
It's all.
If you
all
take a
that stuff's in
15-minute break, you don't have to. But yeah, at Starbucks, it was literally people being like, I don't need to go on my lunch.
there. I'm telling you,
I'm
it's-
thinking differently about it now, I think.
Okay, well,
because
what-
it's like why would you do anything not to the full, like I get like that, the
Because
leadership
you know that job's
and
not your life. That's when
no,
you
I
start
I
not
get
doing
that, but
everything
if you're
fully.
in a place like if you're in a situation like, okay, I have to provide for my family, or even the bare minimum, I have to pay bills.
Yeah.
It's like not to go fully there, but like we're called as Christians, like do it all for the glory of God, whatever
what I
you
was
do,
thinking.
right? I mean, so if you're intentionally half doing something because you think your situation isn't like what it's supposed to be, then I
Right.
don't like, what is your life at that point? You're just like, yep, I'm getting screwed over by my boss, or like I should be in this different situation, but it's not worked out. So I'm just going to,
Yeah.
schlep,
It's like, who's to say then you can't like advance because you are doing well?
Sure.
Like your
Yeah.
boss might look at you. I mean, obviously, it
Wasn't
depends
that
on the
Bob
company.
Iger was like sweeping the floors at Disney or something?
Right.
Like,
Sure. Yeah.
John,
I
you
don't know.
read his book, John. You
if you're
correct me if
working
I'm
for
wrong.
A corrupt company, like let's say you're working for Amazon and you're actually being treated horrible. Like,
Literally, like,
quit,
sheeple.
Get a different job. But like if you're working somewhere where it's considered a lower job or like you're getting paid less,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing. Like it's still your job. Like
Which
I
I'm fully like speaking out of turn because I'm all about like setting workplace boundaries. So
well, there's two sides.
I'm not
of it.
like
There's,
do it all like
have
110%.
boundaries, but be a good employee. I
Yes, right? There's got to
You
be
can have both.
a
feel
gray
like,
area.
I feel like they're different. They're different like
Categories?
areas. You know what I'm saying? Like, like if you're talking about I guess that's the question is what is quiet quitting? Because if quiet quitting is
Yeah.
just like not doing anything on top of your normal job description, then I agree
I
that's
think-
normal. That should be how
I think
things
quiet
are.
quitting
you know?
is like going to work and doing what your body, like at Starbucks, it was straight up like I'm a robot when I go to work.
You're like, beep,
it's
boop,
all like
beep,
beep
boop,
boop boop boop. I know how to do the boop boop boop, boop, and then go home
Sure.
and then live
Yeah,
my
no
life. I
thinking,
feel like
no
quiet quitting is
attachment.
like that. Like it's like
Being a robot.
Pretty
If
much.
quiet
Like
quitting is not
detaching
being a good
it.
employee, that's a whole
Well, that's
different
what the
thing.
Yeah,
quitting.
it is
That's what the
detaching
quitting
yourself
part
You can still be a
insinuates
good
is like,
employee.
oh, I'm showing up, but like I don't care about what's happening here.
That's
That's
the
quiet
problem.
quitting.
You're
That is the problem
detached.
because then it's like okay, but you have coworkers. Like you're working, even if you are doing a monotonous job, it's like
Yes.
you're still working with other people.
Like make connections with other humans. I
yeah,
guess.
like you can
Yeah.
have an impact in any job you're doing.
But it's not, and it probably is. What do you call it? Like involuntary. It's sorry, Annie, are we keeping you up? My bad.
Jeez.
called out.
I gotta do it every once in a while. Okay, Annie, really, you're not gonna dab me up right now?
Don't dab him up.
Give me some.
Don't do it. He doesn't deserve
It's
it.
so far.
Annie
was
just quiet
cool.
quit this podcast.
Quiet quit.
Smart, yeah. I
I've
did that.
literally
That was
never.
a good call. That was
I've
a good
never quiet quit. I have very aggressively pretend loud quit, so they were aware
I
that I
quit.
wasn't
Whoa.
that I wasn't doing well.
Whoa.
That like it was too much.
Smart.
There's when I feel like Christians,
Okay.
though they should be the ones who are, promoting workplace boundaries and pouring into people.
Oh, no.
Often are also the ones that are like, hey,
It's
advantage.
ministry,
man,
baby.
I need you to do like another 12
ministry.
hours
That
on
is
your
such a weird
60-hour
thing.
week.
Yeah,
That is
isn't that
such a
crazy?
weird thing.
Yeah,
It's like a
hypocrisy.
very
It's
common-
crazy. But I would whenever like I would just have like a little mini breaking, and I would make sure it would be with like a lot of people around. I'd be like, I quit. That's it.
That's it. I'm going
I
home."
quit. And
called
there was
sarcasm.
one
Look it up.
elder at this church that had never heard this bit I did,
Okay.
where like
Where you
I would
quit?
quit and walk away for 10 minutes and then come back
And
and,
they
be like,
thought
you
you-
guys solved the problem? And they went, yeah. And I went, okay, cool. And so I quit and I walked out the door, and I guess I came back like a minute later or whatever. And this guy, Jeremy, was like, oh my God, I was so worried.
thought you really
Because I literally just like stared at them and I went, I quit. And it's
Dang.
because of you. And I walked away.
Whoa.
Wow.
And I was, and
That's called
it
loud
was so
quitting.
funny because loud quitting, and it's funny because my immediate overseer was like, nah, she does this all the time. She'll be back.
Typical Annie move.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Comes
she's just
crawling
overwhelmed.
back.
She quits whenever she's
Typical
overwhelmed.
Annie.
Well, you know who quit?
Let's hear it. Demi
Me.
Lovato.
Dr. Fauci.
Oh. You hear that?
He's
quitting.
retiring.
He's quitting the CDC.
Pretty much quitting.
Well, okay, call
Same
it what
thing.
you want.
retiring,
He's
guys.
throwing his hat.
Throw the towel down.
It's
They
worked
literally
for
like.
long
By
enough.
the way, he's been with the CDC for like 30 years. I mean, I
Weren't
think he
you
deserves to
Team Fauci?
retire.
Weren't you Team Fauci?
Is the job done?
Ryan.
Is the job ever done?
Are all the diseases gone?
Have you cured the diseases?
Yeah, well,
What happened to Sugar
monkeypox is
Fauci?
at large
I
and
love-
he just quits.
I love they're like he's quitting. I'm like he's retiring.
It's the same
I didn't realize
different.
you're
think-
just like a big Fauci like apologist or something.
I'm not
Guys,
saying either
the
way.
guy did his best.
Ryan, you loved
Give him a break.
You loved that man.
Dr.
Wait.
Fauci, I literally wrote a whole rap for him
No,
during the
I
COVID
wrote a
pandemic.
rap and you sang
I
it.
was there.
Shit.
This guy.
truth
No,
comes
my
out.
transition was to Demi Lovato. Can we talk
Why?
about her?
We already did last
'Cause
week.
she's spicy.
No.
Have
Dude,
you seen
she's
her
getting
album cover?
spicier.
So much more.
Why? I haven't seen it.
Oh,
Are you,
can we pull it
Olivia?
up?
You're
Hold on,
so
hold on, hold on.
behind.
Sorry, I'm
If you
not
had
relevant.
listened to our freaking podcast, you would know what's going on.
Your
You guys
album
talked
is
about it?
named
Well, we
Holy
actually-
Beep.
Holy bleep. It's
Wait, what's the first letter?
FVCK. Holy that word.
Is it her
But she
fifth
spells it with
album?
a
Is
V.
that why?
Oh, that would make sense. Or I thought it was just like saucy. The
Saucy.
picture for the listeners at home.
Have you
the
heard
album
her-
cover is her tied up in leather straps,
I'm gonna go
laying
ahead and
on a mattress, like
Why are we
a
talking
Shape in the
POV
cross.
Yeah.
in the shape of a cross.
Why are we talking about this?
Well, did you
It's
hear?
just crazy.
Did you
She's doing
hear
the Madonna
her-
thing.
She
She
did.
wrote a
She wrote a
song
whole
about being
song
groomed.
about being groomed by the
Oh
guy
yeah,
who
that
played
was last
Fez.
week. Yes.
Fez?
Yes.
Yeah.
You
He
fan of
dated
a
her.
beat?
He dated her when he was 29 and she was 17.
The song
No.
is rough.
The
Yeah.
song is
You fan of a beat?
intense.
It's not rough. It's
No, it's great.
very
No,
honest.
the
but like,
content
rough.
What's
is rough.
crazy
Yeah,
is it started this trend, which is like, it's good for people to be able to create this like space to say stuff like this.
Ooh.
But this trend of people using it and putting the age difference between them and their abusers. And like some girls will put pictures, and there was one girl who was like, it was like her basketball coach or volleyball coach or whatever. And it was all these pictures, and then it was like a picture of her at prom and then his mugshot.
Oh
Whoa.
God.
Damn.
Yeah, it was like,
That is heartbreaking.
I've been seeing a trend. Well, like people are like, it's like these comedians that are doing like the youth pastor like
They hit each other with
impersonation or
tortillas.
whatever. They do like the impersonation of a youth pastor,
They're
and they
so
always talk
funny.
about like. He's like, oh, my new wife, she just graduated like last year. Is there like a
Yikes.
thing with youth
Oh,
pastors waiting for
yes.
like girls to become
Yeah.
18?
I don't think like it's. I don't think it's like a thing. But you got to think in mind in the same way we were talking about young, you know, like people who are getting hired. You're like, you were only like sitting in that seat like 6 years ago
Just
or whatever.
a couple years ago.
Like
Yep.
it's that same kind of thing as these youth pastors because churches don't really care about youth ministry really. They'll hire these people who are like,
Okay.
All right,
hey,
bold
yeah,
statement.
you're 20,
Bold.
you're 20, you're 22. Okay, you can
Church
run the
doesn't
ministry. Here you
care.
go. Like, but the vast majority of youth pastors are like these young 20-something guys, and then they have these 18-year-old students. A year later, they start volunteering, and then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, now she's my wife.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Dude, what?
Crazy. That's
Dude,
why.
What?
That's why all teachers should be at least 30.
That's right.
Well, okay, this
No,
brings
I've
up
never
this.
met a teacher that was younger than 32.
They were just West Hills was just way ahead of their
Was
time.
that Cara?
Yeah.
Impersonation of
That
Cara?
was and
Fauci was
we
Fauci.
decide
Fauci.
we
Fauci.
decide
The
to go to the
CDC's never
moon,
seen it.
not
A
because
teacher.
it is easy, but because it is hard.
Like, who was talking about JFK?
It's JFK.
No one cares about
okay.
JFK.
Okay, it's John F.
Like,
Kennedy.
what is it? Like the 1960s?
All right.
I love it.
Well, as our podcast comes to a
Well,
what a
close here,
bold statement.
I want
Wait,
to take you
what?
guys
We achieved nothing.
on a journey.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Everyone, close
Can
Can
your
we circle back to
eyes.
Demi Lovato? I feel like that was barely talking.
Hey, why don't
Close
you
your eyes,
listen
close
to
your eyes,
last
close your
week's
eyes.
episode and maybe you
Fine.
can,
Yeah,
catch
maybe you
up.
can join in.
So I don't have time.
Shh.
Busy.
I'm closing my eyes, I guess.
And imagine the bushes are rustling, and you're on safari.
Rainforest Cafe.
Oh, what's that I hear? An elephant. Elephants passing by. Oh, what's that? Oh, a herd of monkeys.
herd.
A herd of monkeys? There's that many monkeys. Uh-oh. Watch out, monkeys. Watch out, monkeys. Here comes a lion. And here's that elephant again.
How? Where? What continent are we on?
We have so
Africa?
many sounds.
I don't know what to tell you.
No,
What
we're
part?
back at the beach.
Oh.
Isn't it just relaxing, Jen? It's like we're back on your honeymoon. Not that I was at
Ryan,
the...
no, Ryan was
And
there.
here comes your dinner cruise. Oh, there's that dinner cruise.
Where did you get this keyboard?
This is, I got this from my sister-in-law, Megan.
Literally,
Megan.
Ryan goes out the door and goes, he goes, yo. And I go, what are you talking to? And he was like, oh, Megan. And then he opens the back gate.
And she just had this
And Megan has
keyboard.
the keyboard and goes, I've had this since like the 6th grade and we don't need it anymore. Do you want it? And I look at Megan, like glare at Megan.
Yes.
And Ryan goes, of course. And I glare at her and she looks at me and goes, I'm sorry.
And what's crazy, she was like, sorry, I've got a train to catch.
I love this.
Did she explain this to you, or
It like bulldozes over whoever's
Yeah,
speaking.
yeah. It
Like,
definitely
literally
takes the top
It's my
layer.
new superpower.
Silences them.
It's my new superpower on this show.
Gosh, way too much power. OP.
That's
new
me.
keyboard. That's really nice, man.
Well, you know,
Gosh.
whatever.
whatever. We used to have these really
I guess
nice
that's exciting, right?
looped intros, and now it's a
now
safari
it's
ride.
like I'm like that episode of Friends, like Ross. Is that not? Sorry, that I mean, it's an episode of The Office or something.
No,
Does that
no,
make sense
it
to you?
is.
Does that?
Ross, where he's his song?
It's literally that.
Wait, is that the one where Phoebe sings to it? Or is that
But it's
different?
like
one?
farm
Is
noises.
there
I
like
think.
there's a whole like pad of noises on top of the
There's like little songs. Look, we can do what kind of song? Any kind of
I like
name
this
a
bit.
name a
Any kind of
genre.
song.
Name a
I was gonna say,
genre.
I like
I'm just gonna say it.
18
I like it.
is
To be
rap.
honest,
This is what
Stop.
they thought
This
rap
doesn't
sounded
interest
like.
me.
Yo.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
No, I already know I'm gonna hate whatever comes out of his mouth in 2 seconds.
Immediately no. Immediately no.
Turn it off now. Turn it off. God, there's like this noise, just like loud noise in my ear.
Okay,
tell he's
contribute. Go ahead. It's been a long time since you haven't contributed to this show. Try. Give us something.
Man, I
Yeah,
know.
we will
What's
talk
like your
about
hot take this week?
I thought we were wrapping up.
No, we
No, we're not
are.
wrapping up.
It's
We're
still
not
we're
wrapping
still in wrap up.
What?
We're still in wrap up.
It's like a whole thing.
Wrap-ups
It's like
take a while.
it's like a soft
Crazy.
close. We're trying now. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
it's kind of
saying?
like a fun thing. Like we
We're
end
doing
the
like
show.
oh, it's the end, but really we have 10 minutes left. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Go ahead, Olivia.
totally.
Let's
We're
hear
trying
it.
to get people to stay.
What's
don't
like
know.
your? Do you have like? What are you listening to? What are you watching this week? Like anything? Give
I
us
watched
something
The
to talk
Bear.
about.
The Bear is really good.
The Bear is great.
Did you watch
Fantastic
The
show.
Bear?
The bear?
Oh, it's
I
the guy
suggest
with
it to you
Shameless.
pretty much every week. Yeah.
Seth Meyers
He
called it
doesn't.
the show of the summer.
Yeah.
He did.
I lost a lot of, I don't want to say respect for Seth Meyers, but how he did his COVID show
Oh, it sucked.
was so bad.
Oh
that
my
I
gosh,
was like,
really? That's what you're going to judge him on? His
Let's circle
COVID show?
back.
Well, yeah.
yeah, when everyone else was doing it, I don't know, well, and his
I
gotta
don't
be
think
out of your
everyone else
mind.
was doing
Okay,
it well.
wait.
gotta
Who
be
was
out
doing
of
it
your
well?
mind.
Two out of the like
John
5 got
Krasinski made a
canceled.
fake one that was better than Seth Meyers'
That's
real
true.
production.
So that's the
It
reason.
was.
That's the reason you
He
don't
would
like
pause-
Seth Meyers is
he would
because he
pause
didn't have a
for-
good COVID show.
He
I just
paused for
lost a lot of
applause.
respect for him.
He would pause for applause, and there was no applause.
Yeah,
'cause
that
there
was
no
actually
audience.
that was fairly cringy. But so did
This is so bad.
but everyone else was doing it in their houses, and like Stephen
of them
Colbert's
got
wife was like,
canceled. Let's remember, 2 of them got canceled. Stephen Colbert did his in a bathtub. Can
Yeah.
we talk about that?
Who got
Cringe
canceled?
Fest. Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel both got canceled.
they got
at home.
canceled.
Yes.
The at-home show.
No, do you remember?
Jimmy Fallon was canceled.
Yes,
What did
both
he
of them
do?
were canceled.
For blackface.
Yes, they both did blackface.
Oh, Jimmy
on-
Kimmel did.
They were like social,
Oh.
like
Yes, Jimmy Kimmel
Okay,
did.
canceled.
somebody
Social
tell the
canceled.
world that apparently because they're fine,
The world
obviously.
doesn't care.
Yeah, the
I'm
world.
just
Everyone's
saying,
millions of people
if we're
watch
gonna-
Jimmy
If we're
Fallon.
gonna tear down some COVID shows, let's tear down some COVID
I just love
shows.
that you lost respect for
He's just
Seth
so
Meyers
bad.
in like the most
Okay.
craziest time the
You know
world
what's
has
even
seen,
worse?
and like
We were watching Seth Meyers the other night.
He didn't handle it
with,
well.
with the guy from The Bear. When
Yes.
we were interviewing.
Well.
I literally asked Ryan, does he still have an audience? Because it's the same show.
He
as
does.
COVID.
Yeah, they were pretty quiet. They were
Savage.
quiet. They're like,
Like,
who is this?
stop.
He
Seth
doesn't
Seth
matter.
Meyers.
He has
Seth
my
I like
friends.
Seth Meyers. No
think
shade,
you
no
like
tea.
him?
Yes, I like him.
I think he's a little
too
smug.
Weekend Update. It's
You know what?
literally just Weekend Update in a show.
I've thought
If it ain't
about this a lot.
If it ain't broke.
You know
Dot,
what?
dot, dot.
Maybe I'm not going to share this because you
Go
just
ahead.
dropped a bombshell that I got canceled. But
Go
Oh,
ahead.
you
I
love
think
it.
I,
don't.
No, share it. Ryan, I actually know what you're going to share.
ahead.
And you
Annie
need to
knows.
share
I
it.
shared it with Annie, but
You need to share it.
I think maybe I was a little too hard on Jimmy Fallon
Thank you.
Really?
Thank you.
Kara's really?
because I listened to him on a podcast.
With that guy. What was his name? Mike
Mike
something?
Birbiglia.
His
Did you
podcast,
listen
by
to
the
it?
way, is it's so funny.
Oh, tip of the ranch. It's pretty funny. But it's like
Okay.
That guy,
he
by the way, I started
he was
following him.
talking
So
about
funny.
his he's got a great podcast.
Hilarious.
He started talking about his come up in comedy and like SNL, and it's just like I don't know, maybe he's not as big a sellout. I mean, I still think he's a sellout. I think he's doing the
what made you
Tonight
say
Show.
he was a sellout?
Just like his Tonight Show
you
is
like
so
Jimmy
unfunny
I
to
used
me.
to like him.
You used to like him?
Until he got
I-
canceled. She's
okay,
on
no.
His
Olivia.
COVID show?
Olivia's
That's what did it for
a
Olivia.
stri- a
His COVID show was
strict
His
pretty
wife,
follower.
his
trash.
wife was
Okay,
laughing at
no,
it.
Olivia's a strict follower of. I don't want to say
Cancelization?
cancel culture, but
Cancelization.
she gets on that bandwagon with
She
the
d-
canceling.
oh,
but
bandwagoner.
it's but it's for good reasons. They
That's
cancel
fair.
for
Okay.
good reasons,
Look,
and Olivia
I'm
sticks
all
by
about
it.
that. Like, I don't think blackface is funny. I don't
Let's
think it
not
was
move
funny back
on.
then.
Let's not move on.
Go
You know
ahead.
what I mean? Like, I don't know. Whatever, cancel culture. We've talked about it a million times on this podcast.
Go ahead.
But
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't know
Even
how many
more
times
since you
we
left.
because you
Even more since you left, believe it
don't
or
watch
not.
it or listen to it.
Believe it or not,
Change the
we
subject.
talk about SNL being bad pretty much every week.
And it is.
yeah, I don't know. But I just like other.
I'm
I
just
just like other
saying-
late night shows more.
Agreed. I'm just saying my statement is my full statement is.
Yeah, what is
I
it?
Let's
think,
get it right.
I think I was too hard on Jimmy Fallon initially.
Initially.
I think Jimmy Fallon is like he's funny. I don't think what he's doing on the Tonight Show is like necessarily
Good.
a big hit or good, right?
No.
No, okay. There was a time when Jimmy Fallon was doing great, and I loved his show. And then
When he had Late Night with Jimmy Fallon.
yes,
Yeah.
and
When he
like-
was on Late Night, he was funny.
No, well, I don't know. Like his earliest, I didn't watch. But
That
like
was-
when he was doing like the fun gimmicky games, like there was definitely
Oh,
a
no.
period of time where I felt like it was fun
Yeah.
and interesting. But
Yes.
I would say I don't know. I just like have gotten jaded by the whole like late night routine
Well,
that they always do.
mm-hmm.
And we talked about this before. I just don't like
How do they come out and monologue?
predictable it
and
is.
then-
Well, my theory is
I-
that we're evolving as listeners and content
Yeah.
consumers.
Yeah.
We're listening to podcasts for an hour long where they're talking about like deep,
More interesting
crazy
topics.
stuff, and then
Yeah.
you watch the Tonight Show and they're like he's asking all the superficial questions to
Well,
like the one celebrity.
I don't
like,
know.
Just ask the
Have you
question,
ever watched
right?
old-
The question we want to know, which is about the scandal,
Have
right?
you ever
Exactly,
watched
yeah.
old Johnny Carson clips, man? That
Those
show was
go on and
bonkers. They
on
would
and
talk
on.
about
Crazy.
nothing on that show. He'd be like, you know something is down in Australia, the Australians, they will actually go out into the outback. And this is
swear.
crazy.
Genuinely how
Now,
it
now,
was.
have you ever heard this? They go and see the kangaroos.
So
pretty good
slow.
impression.
It's
And
so
there was
slow.
and talk about like a COVID audience. There would be like one person, ha ha, and he's like, right, see, that's what I'm saying. Like that was Johnny Carson.
Great impression, by the
Listen,
way.
my thing,
Now, get
my
this.
issue with
It's
Jimmy
good.
Fallon
Is it okay? Yeah, it's really good.
All right.
is, and I have the same issue with James Corden.
His COVID show.
Boo.
James Corden is the worst.
What it is
The
they
worst.
make
James
it
Corden's
about
pretty rough.
them and not the guest.
Uh-huh.
So it's like tonight on whatever, like on James Corden, we're having these people where it's like
I got you.
they talk about the,
James Corden. We've got a guest here. It's really
Russell Brand. Russell Brand.
Things, right? Yeah,
Stranger Things.
You don't know that show, right? Stranger
Yeah.
James Corden isn't that cocky.
That's
with
what he
that.
No.
sounds like
He
in my
didn't-
head.
he didn't use
That's
the
what he
Fs.
sounds like.
I will say
Right,
James
right.
Corden
He
is
didn't say
phenomenal.
face.
It's the cast
but
of
it's like,
Stranger
but it's
Things.
like okay, so
horrible.
like they have these funny bits where like they were funny at first, but then the shift went from the guest to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I
Yeah, I agree.
it
with that.
Corden
kills
especially.
me when Jimmy Fallon has like a
It's
singer
Mary Bobby
or
Brown.
like these people who are gonna do like this funny bit with lip syncing or making up songs,
Yep.
and then you have to sit through Jimmy Fallon doing it.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, hey, dude, I don't care about you doing it. I want to
Yeah.
watch them do it.
I get that.
Because like
know.
I'm watching your show. You're the constant that I'm
Yep.
always seeing. So I'm kind of getting sick of you.
Well, that's like it's.
I
nice
wanna see
when-
them.
It was
I wanna
nice
see
when like
other
One
people.
Direction
Yes.
was like on the shows because they'd play games, but it was only One Direction playing the games, and Jimmy
there was
Fallon
5
would
of
be
them.
facilitating it.
Yeah, it's
he just
stuff
needs
like
to
that.
facilitate.
I kind of disagree. I think it.
Well, that's
depending
because
on,
you love him.
Less direction.
It's fun because he does everything. It's like, oh, he'll do anything.
Like, okay, F you.
Got him. Destroyed.
I think that it is interesting to. What I like about Jimmy Fallon is that when he's playing those games, you can tell like Jimmy Fallon's really like a competitive person. So it's funny to see him get like spun up about losing or whatever. Like I do think in the game portion of his show, he genuinely is like a competitive person, and so I think that's kind of cool to see him in that way because we're always seeing the like perfect scripted Jimmy Fallon. But in the games, you get to see like the side of childlike side of him. I think with Jimmy Fallon specifically, I can't speak to any other host, but.
I think
Conan O'Brien
night,
is the fringe. He will always be the fringe.
Conan O'Brien was the best.
He's funny.
He is
really
the
funny.
he's still
late
doing
night.
late night essentially in a better
On
format.
podcast. He really takes his thing and he makes it better every time.
I miss his behind the scenes where he would go and talk to his cast and crew.
Yes,
so
And
good.
he would,
So
like,
good.
My favorite one to this day is when he went to all of his kind of like middle road, employees and had them call their parents. And then at one
So
point,
good.
someone's chair was like broken, and he goes, "Well, it's not fair that you have this nice chair and he doesn't get a chair because his chair is broken." So he just started destroying all their chairs, and he goes, "Do you like your chair?" Like after the bit's done, he goes to some random person who had no idea what was happening. "You like your chair?" And then it would just cut to him literally tossing their chair in the hallway, and he
So
goes,
good.
"Sit in that one." And just goes down the hallway.
I love, they recently posted like an old clip and it was like from the 90s Conan, and he's like, we had a sketch last week where we had a duck and we thought this duck was so charming we just decided to bring it back, so please welcome the duck. And the duck literally comes out, like how the guests come out around the corner, it's just the duck comes out and he's just there and he's like, "Man, that duck is charming." We love that duck.
I love him.
So funny.
I think honestly, it's going to change. All of it is going to change very soon.
Of course.
I know
sure
that sounds
hope.
like a crazy
Do you
statement.
think
I sure
do you
hope.
think we'll see
Everything's
the
changing
death
all
of
the
TV?
time.
Do you think
The
we'll,
death of television?
Do you think so?
I think
Yeah.
it's just
No.
morphing into the streaming
I
thing.
don't think our kids will know how to, do the remote
I don't think
channel
I remember
guide
watching
and
live
anything
TV.
like
The
that.
clicker?
For the Padre game.
Yeah.
But even
You're talking
then,
about the
sometimes I
clicker?
watch on
The
my
remote.
No.
It's called the remote.
It's so funny is we've been pretty good recently about not talking about late night television.
And we've talked
Olivia
about-
is back.
well-
And we managed to talk about Jimmy Fallon, James Corden.
Okay, can we talk about James Corden?
It's the
Ryan
cast
said
of
something-
Stranger Things.
Ryan said something a long time ago, and I felt like it was really profound because at the time I was like, I like James Corden, carpool karaoke, he's great.
Yeah.
What did I
Ryan
say?
goes, no. You said James Corden is his own hype man.
Yes.
And it's so
it's
true.
true.
That's what I
Nobody
don't like
loves
about
James
him.
Corden like James Corden.
Nope.
It's something about him. It comes across as cocky, and I don't like it. It's
Yes,
like,
it's like
his cockney.
well,
Have
true.
you ever seen? I saw this clip today, I think, and it's his old writer. It's his old writing partner, and I cannot for the life of me think of his name. But James Corden did a whole bit where he took all these pictures with the guy's mom.
Okay.
He was in a bathtub with his mom, and they took all these pictures, and he's like, so to get revenge, I hung out with your dad. And James Corden's like, what? And it's like these pictures of him and his dad. And at first they're just getting a beer. And then all of a sudden some guys with their shirts off. And then all of a sudden they're in bed together.
Oh my God.
And it's like James Corden's legit dad did it with him.
No way.
That's
And then
so
he
funny.
goes, and it's so funny because it catches James Corden so off guard that he can't try to make it funny. You can tell he's actually kind of pissed. And he goes, my dad's in the audience today. And they find his dad, and his dad starts ripping off his shirt, and you just hear James Corden go, Dad, no.
Contrived.
Those moments are always
It's derivative.
Well,
Bullshit.
how do late night TV shows end?
I've never heard a late night show end like this ever.
Well, we want to thank everybody for coming out tonight.
good. They apparently rehearsed this.
It's like Crocodile Rock is playing in the background.
Don't mention it. He'll change to something else. It'll be another 20
I
minutes.
remember when Brock was young. Me and Susie, we had so much fun.
all right.
I don't even know the
This is
words.
too much.
Hands and
This is too
skipping
much.
stones.
All right, Olivia's into it.
Oh, she's liking it now.
But
She's in.
Well, it's good to have you here.
On the couch as always, Cara Tafolla, producer.
Cara Philly.
I almost called you that the other day. The lovely Annie the Skovmand. Take a pic. I want to take a pic, Annie.
Oh, you want like legit?
No, I was just doing a funny thing.
Oh,
That's a
okay.
funny thing. All
I
right.
want to take a
And
pic.
then
You know, I haven't heard that TikTok sound.
no.
And thank
Doesn't
you,
exist.
Olivia Tafolla, for joining us today. Remember
Good to
us
see you, Olivia.
Hey,
when
good
you
to see
hit
you
that.
guys. Hope to never see you again.
Oli, your stage name, Oli.
Yeah.
Lest you forget.
Never forget Oli.
Oli. So good.
Wow, that's so great.
This is
Let's
the
put it.
longest
Way too long.
outro we've ever had.
Cut it. Cut the
We'll see you
tape.
next
It's special
time.
because it's special.
Hurry the freak
Wait,
up.
everyone stop. Everyone stop.
Season finale.
What did you just say?
I said we'll see you next time on
What the
fuck?
It fell apart. It fell apart. It fell apart.
Deep
It fell apart.
fried. All of it is right.
I will not stand for that. I'm Ryan.
I'm John.
We'll see you next week on
What the Podcast?